Yo, what is going on, guys? Aspect Gaming back once again in Star Technology. In this episode, we'll be doing the majority of the MV progression. That's going to include getting to the integrated circuit line, upgrading our resource production to make chromium and manganese, and multiplying our power output times 10, utilizing mechanical sieves and lapidary dynamos. This one's a big one, and I'm coming in fast, so watch out. First things first today, I want to set up some void extractors. This is another resource production multi-block, and this one consumes drilling fluid to create a ton of new materials. For MV, I mainly needed to get access to arsenic for MV circuits. The recipe is a little bit expensive, but still, it's not too bad to make 4 of them. It took me a little bit of brainstorming to figure out how I wanted to wall share these, because it's a little bit annoying with just LV hatches. Each void extractor is going to need 2 output buses and output hatches. So I wall share these in a straight line, and I have 1 output bus next to every controller. These all feed into a row of barrels, which are just storing all the products. But the underside is where it gets really bad. So the drilling fluid pipe is kind of like snaking around. Every void extractor needs to have drilling fluid, so it had to make its way to all of them. And then they all have 2 output hatches. So both extractors are sharing a set of output hatches, so there's only 4 total. Each set of machines is producing raw ore slurry and then rare ore residue, and I'm storing that in a bunch of fluid cells right now because I want to keep it. I don't know why the chest is stuck open, don't mind it. But I'm producing lubricant and drilling fluid on the other side of the base. So we're making creosote from coke ovens, which is being piped out of them from a coke oven hatch. This then goes into a brewery with some redstone in it. This makes lubricant really fast. I'm then combining the lubricant with water and stone dust, and it makes drilling fluid. Then we just transport that with laser IO again. Now it's time to make our first aluminum. The way we'll do this is by processing down our sapphire geodes. There were so many ways to do this, but the simplest way just to get it done in LV seemed to be to just macerate and use an ore factory. I made a row of macerators, and I started to work on 2 electric ore factories. In the meantime, I remember to check the recipe for the ender iode staff of traveling and travel anchors, and wow, they're super cheap. I literally could have made this in episode 1. Anyways, I finished up my little Ore Proc setup, and I started to make my first aluminum dust. We're not quite ready to start MV yet, though. Firstly, we gotta wait for the EBF to smelt, as I've also made a ton of the MV superconductor, which is signalum. But the real reason is that we need MV circuits. There's 2 new components we need for these, which are phenolic circuit boards and diodes. For diodes, we have to use a recipe with gallium arsenide dust, copper wire, and molten glass. If we use annealed copper, it's a little bit better because we can get 2 diodes, so I made an LV arc furnace. I'll get arsenic from Rilgar, which I'm making in both the void extractor and the rock filtrators. The phenolic circuit board is the first board we have to make in a chemical reactor. We have to make a choice to use either sodium persulfate or iron 3 chloride for it. I chose iron 3 chloride because I found that it was the easiest to automate. I found this recipe here where if you electrolyze salt water, you get 1 chlorine to 1 hydrogen, and to make iron 3 chloride you need hydrochloric acid. Salt water can come from centrifuging seawater, which is infinitely made in a barrel. That is what I devised here. We have sand in a large barrel, an aqueous accumulator on top that is providing water to it. Seawater comes out into the centrifuge here, which then outputs saltwater, saltpeter, and rock salt. The saltwater then gets electrolyzed and makes chlorine, hydrogen, as well as sodium hydroxide. We then produce HCl, which goes straight into making iron 3 chloride just by adding iron dust to it. Occasionally I have to empty the system of hydrogen, but I'm going to save it for now because I'll probably need it for something else down the line. After quite a long crafting session, my MV circuits were finally done. I'm only making 2 circuits with this inefficient method, and I'm going to use those to make a circuit assembler. There's one small problem I forgot about though. The LV emitter needs quartzite, and later on MV emitters need flawless emeralds. To solve these issues, I made an ore washer, sifters, and an autoclave. The ore washer is used to make purified ores, which I can then put into the sifter to make the flawless emeralds. I want to get this going now because it takes a while to stockpile those. The autoclave will be used to turn quartzite dust into actual quartzite, which we'll use to finish off the circuit assembler. Now we can actually make some good MV circuits. It's almost time to make machines, but first I got distracted and had to clear out some space for the MV line. There is some stuff here from the Stone Age that we don't need anymore. To finally get started, I'm going to make 2 16 amp energy converters and an MV electrolyzer. I'll use the electrolyzer to create more aluminum through clay electrolysis. Here's the clay system, it's very simple and infinite. I'm bringing up dust from the cobbleworks downstairs and soaking it with water. That then outputs into an LV macerator, which goes to the electrolyzer. The electrolyzer is pretty close to fully saturated by just the macerator, so I'm not putting a second one down. And look at how much stuff we have. I've already cooked thousands of aluminum from this setup. The second machine I want to make is actually an MV centrifuge. That might be surprising, but it's extremely useful because it unlocks some new materials for us. For example, I need vanadium and chromium to make vanadium steel, which is necessary for further progression to get to the MV cutting machine. I manually process some rare ore residue in an LV electrolyzer, which makes the sludge dust that we have to use the MV centrifuge for. While I was waiting on the machine, I crafted up the MV assembler. This is a huge milestone because it means that we've unlocked the jet boots. It's only 64 star T-coins for creative flight. I guess this means it's time to start building, but hey, look at that, I just made the MV mixer. This is required to make vanadium steel. After I EBF that, I was able to make the MV laser engraver and cutting machine. I also made 4 MV extruders. I'm gonna need these for a project later in the episode. These laser engraver recipes all take a while, so I want to prioritize getting those set up. First, we have to smelt some monocrystalline silicon boules. This recipe takes forever, so I'll get those fired up first. Thankfully, I had a lot of silicon on passive already from multiple setups. Then it's time to make some lenses. I made a sapphire, emerald, and ruby lens since all those gems were readily available from my rock filtrators. The sapphire lens will allow me to make ULPICs, which is the last component I was missing to make MV energy hatches. Alright, I was letting the cutting machine and the laser engraver do a thing while I was making food, and we have a lot of chips now. The only other unique component to make these is the medium voltage coil, which is pretty easy. We're going to use our first MV energy hatch for our rock filtrators. We're now able to run this recipe that uses sand to create blue topaz, topaz, apatite, certus quartz, monazite, and spessartine. It's going to take a while to produce any amount of certus quartz, so we'll find some other stuff to do in the meantime. I need another batch of MV circuits, and they've made this a much harder decision. Usually the basic circuit line is like a little bit cheaper than the actual integrated circuit line, because these require silicon and all that. But the thing is with this, is that the basic circuits are 2-to-1 for MV. The integrated circuit line is 1-to-1, because you actually get 2 integrated circuits out of this instead of 1. I think it's more worth for me to start making integrated circuits. I decided to batch out 2 stacks of MV circuits. I'll probably need to do at least 1 or 2 more batches like this before we get to auto crafting, but this is good enough for now. I think another reason I'm so not used to making integrated circuits is the gallium cost. Since I've only played GTH for like 5 years straight, I'm so used to gallium being a gigantic problem in MV, but in this pack I already have thousands of it, so it's another reason not to worry and just go ahead and make integrated circuits. Another side project I began working on was processing down the fluids from our void extractors. This is extremely important to do now, because I'm going to need chromium and manganese for canthal and stainless steel. So here's the raw ore slurry processing. Oh no. So here's the raw ore slurry processing. I'm using all of it that I've accumulated, and it basically just goes into one centrifuge, and we are creating a whole bunch of stuff. As you can see, you can process down pyrolusite, you can create manganese, which we need for stainless steel, so it's good to stockpile this right now as well. This recipe also creates molten ore mixture and mixed mineral residue. The mixed mineral residue, I'm sure it has uses, but like, I don't know, it seems kind of whack, so I'm avoiding it for now. But I know that the molten ore mixture is good, so I'm going to maintain a pretty good buffer of that, so we're storing that for now. On the other side, there's a little bit more going on here. We have the rare ore residue, which electrolyzes into these 4 sludge dusts that we mentioned earlier, as well as some raw ore slurry, which gets put back into this centrifuge, which is actually bottlenecked quite a bit. Maybe I need some more processing for that system, but the sludge dust then make their way to this other centrifuge, and then most of them are being stored here. I'm separating out the chromium sludge dust because I just want to process that right away. The other ones are less important, so I'm just kind of keeping them on standby. But now I have a good amount of chromium, which means we're ready to start making canthal. Oh, my ass is not ready to make canthal. This needs an HV EBF. My carbon brushes are only making like 3 HV amps, and I don't want to run only 1 EBF at HV. I want to run all 4. It's going to be quite a long grind, but I want to upgrade to using lapidary dynamos. So let's go and craft 21 of these and a stack of these multi-cycle injector kits. Alright, I'm done with the new power system. This wasn't that bad to make, it was just kind of time consuming to make all the MV upgrade kits and multi-cycle injector kits. I'm still keeping up my old power, because this is like truly free power that needs no input. This needs a small amount of electricity input to continue running, so I'd like to have the electricity requirements be handled by a completely passive system like this one is. I have 4 mechanical sieves all wall shared together. I have an energy hatch on both sides of it so that all 4 of them are running off of 2 energy hatches. I gave them a string mesh. And then in the middle here we're inputting all the sand. And we're transporting the sand over from the cobble works. The items are output through 2 LV output buses and get transferred together to a aluminum crate, which is going to be acting as a buffer for the most part, which is already getting full, which is a good sign. But yeah, all these dynamos running off of all the different gems. Some people filter it to just be diamonds, but I'm just going to throw the full output into this so it's a closed system. And then each of these dynamos has an MV upgrade kit and 3 multi-cycle injector kits. This just helps it consume less fuel. The alternative to the multi-cycle injector kits are auxiliary reaction chamber kits, which help you make more RF output at the cost of less energy for your fuel. But it actually seems kind of worth it because the fuel reduction is not that large compared to that maximum output. I might switch over to using those later on. I guess it's really just a question of what you would rather spam. If you're using these, you're making your fuel more efficient, and you need to spam more dynamos and less sieves. With the auxiliary reaction chamber kits, you consume more fuel, but I mean, it's pretty meaningless to just spam 1,000 more mechanical sieves, not gonna lie. If I was running this system at maximum capacity, each of these dynamos produce 2400 RF per tick, which comes out to 24.6 HV amps. The way that I'm transporting the power is by linking a whole bunch of laser nodes together, so these all have energy cards and extract, and these just linked next door to each other like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then from there we transport it with the advanced laser connectors to wherever it has to go into the base. With the power upgrade, it was time to once again upgrade my EBF. Gotta love doing this. And there we are, this is my HV EBFs. In order to cool down the hot ingots when they're done, we need an advanced chemical bath. And this runs faster with distilled water. And you know what? I know a place that we're making distilled water at. I see nothing wrong with this. I've been processing down the candle while I'm editing the video, and we now have enough for the quad EBF. The rest of the stuff we need for the coils are pretty easy. Aluminum foil and liquid copper. There we go, a couple of them are done. Now with these coils completed, I'll be able to smelt silicon, which will allow me to start AE2 and HV. I think I'll be saving that for next time though. And look at these gloves. I thought they were going to protect me against the hot ingots, but they didn't, but they just kind of look funny. I like it. Well, next time though, thank you all for watching, and have a good day.